Hello and welcome to Airheads, a not-so-serious look at the serious business of royal rumours, gossip and gowns. I'm Tom.
And I'm Maeve.
And he's back.
Prince Harry is back in the UK for his farewell tour. We've got the final round of engagements for the Sussexes as working royals, and Harry's got a jump on it. Meghan will be coming back this week, but for now we've seen Harry out and about a couple of times, beginning with his Travelist engagement in Edinburgh.
The probably best thing or biggest thing about this was the fact that he said that we had just called him Harry. Like this. So there's no longer an HRH. There's no longer even a prince. No duke. He's just a one-name diva now.
The host, Ayesha Hazarika, who is a broadcaster, she had to introduce Harry, and she said,
he's made it clear that we are all just to call him Harry. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a big, warm Scottish welcome to Harry.
Do you think running through her head she had the Bridget Jones moment? Prince Harry, Prince Harry, Prince Harry, Prince Harry.
And here to introduce it properly is the man we all call Tits Pervert. Mr.
Tits Pervert.
Mr.
Tits Pervert.
Fitzherbert. Because that is his name.
Maybe it was just us imagining that. Yeah, I feel like his end game is to literally just go by Harry for the rest of his life, which, you know, he's already halfway there, but I think he knows that that's the ultimate sign of celebrity.
I mean, he's got some competition from Harry Styles there. I don't know if he'll ever be just Harry to me. Yeah. I think everyone's going to keep calling him Prince Harry. But I like that, you know, he took a very firm stance that he will not be using the title. So if you want to try and take it away from him, he doesn't care. Whatever. Absolutely.
I mean, maybe this is an anticipation of the year's review where presumably they might have more things taken away from them. But it's a good one, because I think if he'd been like insisting on Duke and stuff, people would have taken that the wrong way as well.
According to Omid Scobie at Harper's Bazaar, there was no palace presence at the event, and he was accompanied just by two of the former Sussex staffers who are now working on Travelist from London. But we did see some of the Royal Rota were there,
his
the
best friends.
Cartel, as Harry calls them. And thank God, because otherwise we wouldn't have got these blow-by-blow details of all of Harry's travel arrangements, which are now seemingly a requisite for every story about everything Prince Harry does. So I know all of you are keeping track, just like us and the royal reporters. Harry flew commercially to the UK, okay? Then, from London, he travelled to Edinburgh by train, but it was an eco-friendly train.
Okay.
But, watch out guys, because on the way back, he did take the train again, but he, according to the Mail, had the entire first-class carriage to himself and his team on his return journey. The Mail suggests that the taxpayer may have spent £12,000 for him to do this, though they do have a royal source who says Harry only booked enough tickets for the members of his party.
I really like the idea that it was him on a laptop booking, like, how many are we, guys? All right, like, oh no, is he definitely coming? All right, okay, I'll get one anyway.
And this is the first time he's ever had to do this, so it took him like an hour and a half.
Oh my god, he had like a discount code, and he was like, it wasn't valid or something. And
do
just
I have
more
a visa? What's a CSS code? Is that what it's called?
But I mean, when you go on a train and you see the first class carriage, there's only ever like two people in there anyway. So I really wouldn't be surprised if it was just a coincidence that there weren't anybody else.
Yeah, me neither.
Like, we now do know a lot more about Travelist as a result of this engagement. So we knew it was going to be a sustainable tourism project, and its kind of whole thing is it's partnering with big players in the industry. So We've got Booking.com, Skyscanner, TripAdvisor, Trip.com and Visa. Amongst their first proposals is an easy-to-understand guide that scores sustainability practices across the travel and tourism industry with a focus on accommodation and aviation.
Omid Scobie explained it a little bit more in Bazaar. He was saying, for example, is a certain tour bringing business to the community, or is only the tour operator profiting from it? Could a trip to a natural site harm the local environment? Things like that.
Right.
Which make a lot of sense. Apparently, Travelist is currently, I think, like 6 months into a 36-month phase when it's development phase. So presumably, you know, it'll be a kind of a slow slow development. But this was promising, I thought. We also saw Harry out on Friday at the re-recording of John Bon Jovi's song Unbroken at Abbey Road Studios. We talked about this last week. This was a re-recording with the Invictus Games Choir, so it's now a charity single. And the song initially had been written to spotlight veterans living with post-traumatic stress disorder and to honour their service. So obviously it's a very relevant song and a relevant cause. Bon Jovi knew this because he got involved by writing Harry a letter. He'd never met Harry before, but he was like, I think, you know, this could be something cool for us to do together. And it was. I thought it was such a funny Instagram video that Sussex Royal shared of Harry and Bon Jovi in a recording booth together, seemingly gearing up to record together. And then just as Harry is about to unleash that voice, it cuts off. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it was good.
Bon Jovi was talking about it later, and he was asked who's a better singer, Will or Harry, because he had previously sang with Prince William and Taylor Swift, like pretty intimidating company for Will. And this time, a very diplomatic Bon Jovi said they both have a set of pipes.
Oh. Well, that plays into my theory that Harry is going to sing on it.
I mean, he didn't say if it was a good set of pipes. It could be like a really ear-splitting set of pipes. We also saw Harry and Bon Jovi recreating the famous photo of the Beatles at the Abbey Road crossing with a former serviceman and servicewoman from Invictus, and I thought this was a nice little photo op, and it showed, like, we've heard so much about how Harry doesn't like he's not game for those kind of photo ops anymore, and he's very surly. I mean, he didn't look surly in these pictures to me.
No, he looked like, you know, he was enjoying it. He was also giving a very good kind of model face.
Oh yeah. Blue steel and his blue shirt.
So the Palace also played Bon Jovi during the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace in recognition of Harry's engagement. Is this some kind of show of support of Harry?
I don't know. I think it's more of a sort of cashing in on Bon Jovi being around. Yeah. I think it probably has more to do with him than with Harry. Some people took it as like a really nice nod to Harry and to his engagement, although the Palace didn't really share anything about Harry on its social accounts, which isn't unusual. But given that they did this, when they did post about this on Instagram and Twitter, they said it was in recognition of Bon Jovi and his project with the Invictus Games, so there was no mention of Sussex Royal or Prince Harry. So I thought that was a little bit unusual.
Yeah,
I certainly saw the more avid Sussex squad fans were not impressed by this move.
We obviously had to get more information on how upset the Queen is by Harry and Meghan, because you can't go a few days without hearing about how she's been personally slighted. Katie Nicholl for Vanity Fair was writing that while the Queen has been publicly supportive of Harry and Meghan's decision to step down as senior royals, sources close to her say she has taken it personally.
Everyone is taking this so personally while telling us that it's not personal.
Yeah.
This source tells Vanity Fair she generally doesn't want to talk about it. The Queen has been keen to get this resolved because she sees it as damaging to the monarchy, and on a personal level, I think this has been rather hurtful for her. She's got to the point where she doesn't want to think about it anymore. She just wants it over and done with.
Bloody hell.
It seems like she has this kind of tunnel vision where she has like blinders on when it comes to Prince Andrew and what effect her support for him has on the monarchy, and she can be like very full-throated about Harry and Meghan by contrast.
I do think that these like constant leaks about her personal feelings around this are actually more hurtful to the monarchy than the transition necessarily. That kind of, we've talked before about how the palace is like this colander of information where nothing can be kept secret. So she maybe needs to look at that a bit more.
It's so weird how we're talking so much about the Queen's feelings and like hearing all the time about her emotions and what she feels. Like, it's such a strange change from like before, when it would have been so stoic and, you know, stiff upper lip and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a really noticeable shift. Like, Us Weekly stepped it up into higher gear, basically, with a source who was saying that the Queen is so disappointed that her own grandchild would heap so much embarrassment on the monarchy and bring all this unwanted attention on his family at the worst possible time. She's praying that over time, Harry will start to see things more clearly. Whether that will actually happen remains to be seen. I mean, is she praying in church where she goes with Prince Andrew? Because she could, you know, do something about that instead. But then they were saying, like, oh, the drama's never ending. The Queen is so frustrated. Like, again, there's all the Queen's feelings. Like, who are these sources who know so much about the Queen's feelings when she doesn't even seem to be clear about her feelings with members of her own family?
Well, when we're not worrying about the Queen's state of mind, obviously the media are hungry for as much information about Meghan's joining of Harry soon. So we've heard that Archie will be staying in Canada, which I guess would make sense, yeah. And that she's been apparently invited to the Met Gala.
Like, in our dreams. Oh my God. Supposedly she's going to be going with Edward Enninful, the editor of British Vogue. Like, he'll definitely be there, but will she? Would she follow the theme? Would she wear something inspired by Virginia Woolf's Orlando? Like, no way in hell, but like, it would be amazing. My favourite story was that Meghan, according to the Daily Mail, Meghan has told her agent to find her a role in a superhero movie because she wants to return to acting, and she's been told that she can't carry a film on her own, so she needs an ensemble piece. And the Mail on Sunday even had this like incredible mock-up where they put Meghan's head on a photo of Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. So in the like super tight cat suit, like so pervy.
So you know it's a pretty legitimate story when you've got mock-ups like that. I definitely don't believe that's going to happen. Like, Meghan in a Marvel movie?
Yeah, don't hold your breath. We also learned that the Canadian government has been covering the costs of Harry and Meghan's security while they've been on Vancouver Island, but that this will be stopping in the coming weeks. Presumably March 31st will be the end of that. And, like, I've been really sort of put off by the coverage of this because people seem to be reporting on the withdrawal of the security support with such glee. Yeah. As if, like, oh, well, now they're going to get what's coming to them. And, like, obviously the like biggest newspapers in the country don't actually mean that. Yeah. But just the tone of it is quite nasty, I think.
But of course, the story that should be being put under real scrutiny is Plaster Watch. We've had an update, and we'd like to thank one particularly eagle-eyed listener who spotted that Kay Middleton was wearing a plaster on her thumb when she went to see Dear Evan Hansen this week.
Now, I'm sure frequent listeners to Airheads will know that we've been rigorously following this story. We will not give up until we find out what it is that Kate's not telling us. This is the fourth time that we've seen her, just the fourth time with the thumb plaster on the right hand. We've seen plasters on the index finger. We've seen it on the left-hand thumb. We've seen all kinds of plaster situations, always on her hand.
Yeah.
What's she hiding?
As a taxpayer, I feel entitled to know. But they've been very busy this week, the Cambridges. So they've scheduled themselves some counter-programming for Harry and Meghan's time in the UK. So are we going to get a whole raft of overshadowing headlines?
I mean, I do think it's very interesting how, you know, there's no denying that Kate has been doing a lot more work already this year than this time last year, for instance. And we've seen them out a couple of times each this week when they went to the Dear Evan Hansen performance, and as well when Kate was doing an engagement with Sports Aid, and we saw her trying out the starter blocks, and as well as that doing some taekwondo, which was like a truly amazing photo op for them to stage at this particular time in the royal family. But as well as that, Will was out too. And next week, of course, they will be going to Ireland on a royal tour. And already we are hearing this stuff about overshadowing. Like on Wednesday, Will was visiting the Beacon Day Centre for the Homeless in Mansfield. And this is the same time that Harry was doing his Travelist engagement. And Kensington Royal and Sussex Royal both shared photos on the same day. Oh my God, because they were both working on the same day. Can you believe it? And Harry got a lot more likes. And Will's team were not happy about this. Because we instantly had stories about how there was a diary clash and Harry was trying to overshadow his brother and all this stuff. And this is not going to stop next week because The Sun had a story about how Harry and Meghan will be doing their first joint engagement together in the UK on the same day that Will and Kate's Ireland tour will be ending. So there will be overlap there and naturally overshadowing. So a senior source told The Sun, while William fully respects Harry's right to come back whenever he wants, indeed he's glad that he's returning, however briefly, he wishes that it wasn't at the same time as his Irish trip, because he knows what will happen is that the spotlight, as far as papers and TV are concerned, will be fully on Harry and Meghan. He recognises that for the media this will be the big story. It's not that he and Kate would be jealous of all that coverage. They're simply not like that. But their tour of Ireland is an important one, and he would have hoped it would get due media prominence.
They're simply not like that.
They're simply not, Tom. They're simply not like that, Tom.
I've had enough of that, Maeve. They're simply not like that.
I think this is so funny. Like, we get stories about this so often that to say that he's not jealous of the coverage is totally unbelievable.
Why would they say anything? If they're simply not like that, why wouldn't they just let it go?
Well, the source continues. This sort of diary error would simply not have happened in the days before Harry decided to bail out of royal life. That's why members of the royal family have private secretaries, to ensure that coverage of important events doesn't clash. It's a nightmare as far as staff are concerned because there's no longer any control over Harry. He has nobody now working for him who has proper experiences of the methods and protocol of the court system. So here we are, back to protocol yet again.
Yeah.
But this, again, like we talked about this so many times, but you just have to reiterate how crazy it is that every member of this family feels entitled to 24 hours of exclusive coverage of their work.
Yeah.
When you've got, how many? 4 Instagram accounts, Royal Family, Clarence House, Kensington Royal and Sussex Royal, who all expect to have the spotlight only on them for a full news cycle when they do anything, when they step outside the house to do any official engagement.
Yeah.
This is absolutely absurd. That's basically, everybody can do one thing each week, and that's the only amount of work you're allowed to do. How are you meant to be doing all this incredibly important duties that draws attention to incredibly important causes if you've only got one day a week to do it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're actually all slightly approaching a normal working week now. So it doesn't make sense for them to try and shut down everybody else all the time.
But this brings us to the story of the week.
Oh my god. This is, of course, Katie Weaver's New York Times piece, The Royal Instagram Mystery. I read this very late at night. I couldn't stop. I stayed up just with my heart pounding at this incredible depiction of data.
I know. Like, data journalism is the hottest thing in journalism at the moment. Everybody wants a bit of it because they think it's the future. Maybe it is. Certainly in Katie Weaver's hands, it seems like it might be. We are huge Katie Weaver fans. We've spoken about her on her Airheads before when she interviewed Misha Nunu, and she did an incredible piece on Meghan and Harry's wedding, and she's just a total superstar.
She said she liked your t-shirts.
We believe we met Katie Weaver when we were in Windsor. But I'm sure everybody listening to this has already read this story, and if you haven't, go and do it right now.
Yeah.
Before you listen to us say any more, because she does a way better job of explaining this than we will. But just to give like a little breakdown, so basically it is an investigation into the follower counts of Kensington Royal and Sussex Royal, and how there seems to be something curious going on in the growth rate of each account. So, like, this is basically the piece that we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Like, it confirms, like, a pretty long-held suspicion for both of us. Confirms, in our opinion, she doesn't actually come down on either side about it. But the evidence is very compelling.
Oh, yeah. To start with, it's like a brief history of the two accounts. Kensington Royal was like the shared account for Will, Kate and Harry, and then Meghan once they got engaged. And the two couples continued to share the account after Harry and Meghan's wedding. And then in April 2019, which was about a year after the wedding, Sussex Royal was launched, and it really quickly gained pretty much the same follower count as Kensington Royal. It was incredibly fast. They got to 1 million followers in 5 hours and 45 minutes, which was a record, and it's only been beaten by Jennifer Aniston since. But within a month and a half, Sussex Royal had more than 8 million followers, and it had taken Kensington Royal 4 years to amass the same amount of followers. Based on this, everyone was kind of wondering, when is Sussex Royal going to eclipse Kensington Royal? When will they surpass them in follower counts? I know we were really like talking about that a lot because the growth was like so crazy, and also we were more into the Instagram aesthetic of Sussex Royal at that point. But it's never really happened.
We don't want to get bogged down in all the numbers, but I thought these were particularly interesting figures. So the day before Meghan's first appearance on Kensington Royal, this was in November 2017 when they announced the engagement, Kensington Royal had gained 981 followers. So its total audience at that point was 2.27 million followers. The next day, the engagement of Harry and Meghan was announced, Meghan's first appearance on the account, and Kensington Royal gained 104,092 followers. Massive. To note, Meghan's own personal Instagram account, rest in peace, hopefully we'll see the return of it at some point in future. Before Meghan deactivated at Meghan Markle, she had around 2 million followers of her own, which really isn't very far off the 2.27 million that Kensington Royal had before her first appearance.
Katie Weaver says, over the 3-day period that consisted of Meghan and Harry's wedding weekend in May 2018, plus the Monday morning release of their nuptial portraits, at Kensington Royal acquired more than 1.5 million new followers. In the period after Meghan was effectively incorporated into Kensington Royal, the accounts following more than tripled in size.
Yeah, and since then, she pulls out the 10 most liked posts ever shared by either Kensington Royal or Sussex Royal, and 9 of them feature some combination of Harry, Meghan, and or Archie. The only exception is that like cute photo of Prince George and Princess Charlotte on Charlotte's first day of school. So, like, from the launch day in April to January, Sussex Royal also had more total likes than Kensington Royal by about 13.5 million, and more than double the number of comments. So, the like, in general, the, like, interaction rate with their followers was twice that of Kensington Royal's. So, you know, judging by that, you would think, oh, Sussex Royal must have more followers than Kensington Royal.
Yeah.
But the actual follower numbers tell a rather different story, which Katie Weaver illustrates with this incredible example. Behold, the case of the Prince Harry polo picture and the painted portrait, the low resolution image of the painted portrait of Queen Victoria. Even just seeing these side-by-side pictures on the New York Times website is so funny. So both of these pictures were shared on the 24th of May 2019. Harry's picture got 1,200 new followers in the first 5 hours after it was posted, and 420,000 likes. Pretty good. It was a pretty good picture. We all love the pictures of Harry on the horse, don't we? Polo pics.
Oh,
Hot,
yeah.
very hot. The low-resolution image of the painted portrait of Queen Victoria, as Katie Weaver puts it, meanwhile, gained 3,500 followers in the same time period. So nearly 3 times as much as the Harry pic, but only 283,000 likes. So, you know, the ratio there is pretty wild.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there's something quite suspicious about those numbers.
The other example I thought was really interesting was the famous foot photo of Archie. When we first saw Archie's foot, we'll never forget it.
No.
To mark Mother's Day, American Mother's Day, that Meghan posted in the Bluebells. Or the Forget-Me-Nots. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great photo. Kensington Royal did not post anything on the day, but they did gain 42,000 followers that day. No new content, but fucking tons of new followers. This was, I thought, was particularly unusual because Katie Weaver points out that before Sussex Royal had launched, Kensington Royal would be earning an average of 1,000 followers on a good day.
Yeah.
So to go from 1,000 followers a day to 42,000 followers on a day when you don't even post anything, that
doesn't make sense.
Does sound quite unusual activity. So the New York Times gives 5 possible explanations for what could be going on here. So 1, no manipulation of the numbers. More people just chose to follow Will and Kate than Harry and Meghan. 2, Kensington Royal is getting a better placement on Instagram's who to follow list, which just drives more users to their account without them having to do anything. 3, Kensington Royal may have benefited from a fan-driven campaign to keep the numbers high from the Cambridge clan, but she wasn't able to find any evidence of this. I haven't seen it either. Then 4, Sussex Royal's initial takeoff was supplemented by bots, and growth slowed when they stopped buying bots. Or finally, someone is buying bots for Kensington Royal. This is the one that most people seem to have picked up on. Yeah. Whether it is the Kensington Royal team themselves or someone else. We should note, representatives for both royal houses have strenuously denied any suggestion that their social media teams have manipulated follower numbers. So they're saying they didn't do anything. Make up your own mind about that.
There's no obvious indicators of bot activity. Those would be kind of things like inexplicable surges. Well, I do think that 42,000 followers on a single
but
day.
Like hundreds of thousands or something.
So inexplicable surges or sudden drops in growth, which would be kind of really obvious signs. But according to Professor Samuel Woolley, who researches social media political propaganda, most people leveraging fake followers these days, especially at the behest of well-resourced groups or individuals, are being very careful to avoid suspicion, detection, and deletion. So in a kind of more sophisticated campaign, fake followers will be added in smaller quantities and more frequently, which makes sense.
So it's basically like to avoid detection.
Yeah.
By the likes of the New York Times. One of the other things she pointed out that I thought was interesting was that the popularity of the Instagram fan accounts for the Cambridges was previously pretty much in line with the popularity of the Kensington Royal account. But once the Sussex Royal account was created, that growth no longer corresponded between the official account and the fan accounts, that the Kensington Royal numbers were growing a lot faster than the Will and Kate fan pages, which, again, it is quite unusual. And one of the things that wasn't mentioned in the story, but that I've seen a lot of people pointing out, was that the Kensington Royal Twitter account hasn't enjoyed the same sort of growth at all as Instagram. It still has less than 2 million followers, even though they are very active on Twitter, and sometimes they post things on Twitter they don't post on Instagram, you know, and obviously Sussex Royal don't have a Twitter account.
Yeah. I was quite interested in this idea of how it would tie in with the 5 big questions for under 5s, because you would think with a following of 11.2 million on Instagram, you'd get a similarly kind of large response to the survey. But we've heard quite a lot recently about the 200,000 people who took the survey, which seems quite low. It's less than 2% of their Instagram following. Yeah.
And, you know, we saw Kate trying to leverage her followers by doing that 2-camera video on Kensington Royal before the survey deadline. So you wonder, did that have much of an impact? Did some of those 11.2 million followers just hear of it for the first time and start taking it then? And maybe the final number of respondents, when we eventually hear about them, will be much higher. But it does seem kind of weird.
Yeah, we also asked you guys how you felt about the Katie Weaver piece, because we were so excited about it. We just wanted to talk to anybody and everyone about it. And in general, it seems like people were pretty interested in it. A lot of people were fascinated by it. But also, people weren't that surprised to hear this. I think a lot of people have been following, kind of like we had, like following the two accounts, seeing their follower counts. And one listener said that it's highly suspicious that the Sussex account cannot gain the traction that the Kensington Palace account can. And another noted some fans started talking about this a year ago. Glad the New York Times ran this. No UK outlet would.
Yeah, I was also like very intrigued to see how, like, what kind of follow-up this would be, because basically like you're just rewriting what the New York Times did. But I did think some of the royal reporters might pick up on this and take it to the palace and ask for a statement, because you'd think if Boris Johnson had been doing this, or the Conservative Party, for example, and the New York Times reported on it, then there would definitely be follow-up. Definitely, right?
Yeah. Either to kind of strenuously deny it or to back it up.
So we did see The Sun did a write-up on it, and The Independent as well, and The Independent asked Instagram for comment, which I haven't seen if they've updated it yet with any statement. I doubt they're going to get one.
Yeah.
The Daily Mail took one line from the New York Times story about how Harry and Meghan have 9 of the top 10 most liked posts across both Instagram accounts, and just ran with that and didn't mention anything else about the context of the New York Times story, although they did link to it, which I thought was very funny. Some of the criticism I've seen, some people said they felt like that they didn't like that it didn't come down on either side, that there should have been a definitive conclusion, that it felt like something the New York Times had put a lot of work into, and that it was a lot of words to say, we don't know.
Yeah.
But I would think, like, kind of one of the classic things of journalism is, you know, we report, you decide.
Yeah.
So, you know, in a way, she is giving us a lot of details and that we can make up our own minds about it. Some of our listeners said, eye roll, who cares? They're bound to have similar numbers based on who they are.
I can see how it could seem boring or unimportant, but it's not to me. The royals are like really obsessed with popularity, especially the younger ones. They sort of use it to disguise the fact that they haven't actually earned their positions. Such like a public popularity rating as Instagram followers or likes, it's so visible to everybody, and it can either support this kind of establishment birth-based hierarchy, or it will totally undermine it. It sort of makes sense to me then that there would be parties who would be interested in maintaining a sense of the hierarchy, even on something that seems as unimportant as social media, because that, for many people, especially younger people, is the most obvious and relevant hierarchy that you see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. The style of the piece was also a little bit divisive. Like, I personally loved that she took this sort of Shakespearean approach to it, like two houses, both alike in dignity. Like the Romeo and Juliet thing basically also had an absolutely incredible graphic of the two couples with Kate and Will standing on these little blue footstools, which were so funny. But some people felt that that was a little bit overdone. One of our listeners said the author never states their thesis outright. Just not great journalism. So I guess some people wanted kind of more of a straight report on it. But I mean, I love Katie Weaver anyway. I love her style. And I did think it made what could have been a very dry, very cold list of statistics and figures and data seem like really engaging.
Yeah. Like a combination of the Shakespearean style and then the great graphics. You were just pulled through this dynamite piece of reporting.
Which is why Katie Weaver is my quote of the week. My favourite line, which just kind of encapsulates all that we've just been saying, is when she says at the end, The mystery remains. The parties of suspicion neither condemned nor excused. With like an apostrophe in case you couldn't tell from my intonation.
I think it was pretty clear.
What was your quote of the week, Tom?
I really liked Helen Mirren speaking to Variety about Harry and Meghan. She said, "I think their instincts are absolutely right, and I applaud them for it. Hugely, actually. Of course, it's complicated. Meghan Markle was a fantastic addition to the royal family. Charming, did everything right, was gracious, was sweet-natured, and seemed to be... Wow, what a lovely addition. Didn't seem to be neurotic."
Do you think that's a Diana jab, possibly?
Well, she went on to say, "I think it is a loss in a way, but at the same time I think their instincts are absolutely correct. And I think it will all hopefully sort itself out, and the tabloid pearl clutchers will get over their trauma at not having someone to attack all the time. They'll find another victim. Probably me," she said with a laugh.
Do you want to try to do Helen Mirren's laugh? Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, I like that. You know, Helen Mirren is so closely associated with the royal family because she played the Queen. She won an Oscar for playing the Queen. And she also played the Queen in a play.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think her views on this are valuable. And I like what she said.
Yeah.
But on to our Fit for a King this time.
Yeah, this week, I have to say I did think it was pretty slim pickings this week, but I was very excited to see Harry in a new colour for him. He wore a teal shirt to the Abbey Road studios, and you can see it in that great photo that we were talking about where they do the Beatles cover. So he was wearing this teal shirt, black trousers, and his kind of navy desert boots, and a load of bracelets.
So rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
He loves those bracelets. He has such terrible taste in jewellery, but I love it. I thought he looked great. He looked very relaxed. I couldn't believe in the photo, he was just wearing that shirt with no jacket. It was cold that day and it was so wet. But yeah, he looked very, very happy, very laid back.
Guns out.
Very trim.
Yeah. Looking well.
And possibly a hair trim also.
Snip, snip. And what about your first in line?
Well, given this podcast has basically been a Katie Weaver fan podcast, I think Katie Weaver has got to be my first in line for this service journalism that she has done for us with her incredible investigation. God bless you, Katie Weaver.
I 100% agree. I loved it. So what have we got coming up next week?
Next week is probably like going to be the busiest week in the royal calendar for this year between the Sussexes and the Cambridges. So, okay, let's just break down what Harry and Meghan are doing this week. So, starting on Thursday, Harry and Meghan will attend the Endeavour Awards. This will be our first sighting of Meghan in the UK. 6th of March, Friday, Harry will be opening the Silverstone Experience, a motor racing museum. The following day, Harry and Meghan will attend the Mountbatten Festival of Music.
Rock on.
And then on Sunday, Meghan has an event to mark International Women's Day. And then they'll have one more on the Monday when they attend the Commonwealth service together. Meanwhile, next week, Kate and Will are going to be on their royal tour of Ireland, visiting Dublin, Meath, Galway, and my home county, Kildare. And likewise, Tom and I will be going on a royal visit to Ireland. We'll be taking next week off because we will be on holiday, which is terrible timing given how much is going on, but we will cover it all when we are back.
Thanks so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts, and tell a friend.
You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at AirheadsPod and on Facebook at Airheads.
And we shall see you in a couple of weeks.
Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, I saw that on Instagram. All your pictures were so great.
So you did see him?
Yeah.
Well, that's funny because I was going to ask how come you didn't like any of them.
What do you mean? I just said I did.
Well, no, all my other friends who saw my Paris pics, they clicked like. You were the only one who didn't click like.
Oh, I guess I just didn't get around to actually clicking like.